everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we have another plot twist. So I'm actually starting to film this at the end of December, mostly because I'm very intrigued by one of the cards in here, and I know some of you are as well because I've gotten comments about it, and I was just thinking, what if I made the next plot twist my first read of 2025? So I sort of want to see what's in here and see if I need to get a hold of the book or if I have it, so that we can definitely read it starting in January. So what I have here is cards, and this is going to be the third time that we've done this, so I'll leave the other two videos linked down below in case you are curious, but they're plot twist cards. This is a deck that I bought myself off of Amazon, and it has different books in different genres here. We have thriller, fantasy, horror, historical fiction, contemporary, romance, mystery, all this kind of stuff. And we don't know what book it's going to tell us to read. It gives us a reason why it was chosen, the page count, the audiobook length, in case somebody's curious about that, when it was published, if it's part of a series, and the book feel, which is usually what I try and go by. And so in the last video that I did, episode 2, I did not pick the thriller, but I had a couple different people mention the thriller card and how either they wanted to know what it was because they think it's going to be something they want to read and put on their TBR, or they think they've figured it out and want to know if they're right and if this is the book they are thinking of. So let's go over all the details on here, and then we're going to scratch it off and see what I'm going to read at the very beginning of January. So the reason why this was chosen, it is a debut novel that revitalizes the thriller genre with an intricate plot and vivid characters. The interactive narrative style with mixed media elements like interview transcripts make the mystery more engaging. I have no idea what this is because the book it makes me think of was published before it says it was published. So the page count on this is 433, which is not bad. Audiobook length is 10 hours and 54 minutes. Published in 2019, so relatively recently. It is part of a series, and the book feel is intriguing whodunit. That is what I was like debating on if I wanted to read last time, was the intriguing whodunit. We picked something else, but I am intrigued. So we are going to scratch this off and see what book we have. Okay, so I'm about to show you. Either leave your guesses down below or let me know in just a second if you were correct, if you guessed what this was, because I did not. And part of the reason is because it is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a YA book. I didn't realize that we had YA titles in Plot Twist because I've only done 2 episodes, but I've scratched off 3 things, and I know for a fact a Colleen Hoover is in this pile somewhere. So everything that I have done has been adult. Everything that I've seen has been adult. So we have a YA. That is the reason I did not know what this was, because this is the first book in a YA series that I will tell you I have been intrigued by. I think the first book is something that I have on my want to read list on Goodreads. I do not own it, so I will have to get this potentially from the library. I don't think I want to do the audiobook because if they have transcripts and things, I think I want to like look at it. We'll have to see. But I've heard good things about the first book in the series and not so good things about the continuations. I can't remember if people liked book 2 or not, but I think it was like book 3. Some people that I consider friends and trust their opinions did not like further books in the series. So, okay, it is a YA book. I was not expecting that. Not necessarily a bad thing. I do end up reading more adult books than young adult, but I am not opposed to it. I also read middle grade and things like that. I don't think they would put middle grade in this sort of deck, but I was expecting an adult thriller. So we will see how this goes. First read of 2025. Happy January 1st. I got to pick this book up yesterday on December 31st. I did show you guys just a little clip of me picking it up because I put this on hold through my library the day that I filmed the very beginning of this vlog. because I do not own this book, obviously. I did get the ebook version of this a couple weeks ago, but I know based on the plot twist card that this is supposed to have some sort of like mixed media type of thing, so I really did want to get this as a physical book just because I feel, and I'm hoping, the formatting is better. I checked out the ebook just because, like, you know, I got it in just in case I wasn't able to get this one, and it has this sort of like beginning part, and yeah, the formatting on the ebook, because I increased the font size, was obviously not as good. So I officially have it in my hands. It is now officially January 1st, so this is going to be our first read of 2025. I am excited in the fact that, like, some people absolutely love this book. It is YA, which is why I feel like it's weird a little bit to have it in the plot twist. Like, I did not assume or expect. Yeah, you can draw. Do you need paper? Okay. I did not assume or expect to have a YA in the plot twist cards. I don't know if you guys expected it or not, but yeah, so we have this officially. This is also a TV show on Netflix, right? So I'm thinking, depending on how long it takes us to get into this, I might also start that. Try it out. Let you guys know how it is. Just because, like, I know it's there. I have seen it. I've been curious, but I didn't watch it. Not necessarily because I didn't read this yet or anything, but I just didn't. So yes, we got my hands on it. I'm very glad that I put it on hold when I needed to, because I had like 2 to 3 people in front of me for it, and one of the copies from my library is on like really overdue. I don't remember what they called it, but it's like it was supposed to be returned like in September, and it hasn't been. So yeah, I'm glad we have it. I guess that means I should start reading soon. Okay, so I have read for an hour and 15 minutes so far. I actually was going to come to you guys right after I finished part 1, but then we had dinner and stuff, and before I was able to like sit down and talk to you about the book, I ended up reading a little bit more, so I'm a little bit past part 2. Not like much, just like into it a little bit more. I'm like 120 something pages in. It is going by pretty quickly so far. Like, the writing is definitely making it quicker, especially since we do have some of those parts that are more, not found footage, but like transcripts of interviews and things that Pip is doing, trying to figure out this murder that happened 5 years ago, I think it was, in her town around a senior girl that was there. And it is a very complicated thing. I have suspicions about stuff, and I have suspicions about the red herrings and things like that as well. We'll see what happens. But like, I'm liking the writing style. It does go back and forth between first person with like the transcripts and things like that, the part of like her project that she's doing, and third person where it's just like written as Pip is going to do this. And I almost wish, even though I understand why we're switching points of view, I prefer the first person writing style in this. And I know a lot of it is transcripts or things that she is typing out for her project, so all of the like first person stuff is her writing it, but not all of it is transcripts. Some of it is her writing her findings and writing her thoughts, and I sort of like that writing style more than third person. So every so often we jump into the third person part and it jars me a little bit. And like, I do understand the whole first person versus third person is so we know what parts are her project or not. But last time I checked, when I was only like 1 hour into it, I had 3 hours left according to Bookly, which is my app that tracks like my actual reading pace and speed. I've gotten, like I said, like 15 more minutes in, so less than 3 hours to go. Here's where we're looking right now. So yeah, I definitely think this is going to be a very quick, easy one to get into. And I'm probably going to read more after the kids go to bed. I really just need to sit down and do it. I am glad that I picked this up as a physical one, just because of the formatting and things like that. I don't think the ebook, with the fact that I've changed all the like text size settings, is going to be as good. And there was one map in here that, again, I don't know if that would be good like on audio. Everything else though hasn't seemed to be too bad. Like, if this was an audiobook, as long as you were okay with missing the one map so far, it probably would have been okay. But yeah, I guess that's my update for now. I am liking it. I have thoughts of who I think it is, just because this is sort of Pip trying to figure out the whodunit. She does not think the person that has been accused of it, and everybody thinks, you know, he's the one that did it. The police think he did it, all this kind of stuff. She doesn't think it's him. And I'm inclined to believe her. I, like I said, had some thoughts very, very early on about this. And so we shall see. Okay, so it is the next day. I actually read more of this last night after putting the kids to bed, and I got like 200 and something pages into this because the page breaks, like the chapter breaks, are very, very good at like setting up more. Like you get stuff going on. Like I just actually got to part 3, and let me tell you, craziness has ensued, and I don't think it's too much, but like it's some stuff that I wasn't exactly expecting, because obviously this is all about Pip trying to prove Sal innocent and not having murdered Andy. But like because of that, she keeps going back and forth to different people and like interviewing them and like finding evidence and things like that. And we just had some crazy revelations, I guess we should say. Again, not enough to like actually say the whodunit, but like things that I wasn't expecting. So like there is definite stuff in here that is very like quick paced and lots of craziness that like by the time you get to the end of a chapter, you want to keep going. Like I didn't go past my bedtime last night. I think I definitely was done reading and in bed by like 10:30. But I probably could have. Like I'm gonna finish this today. I probably have less than an hour left to go now. So much stuff is happening. Okay, so it is 7:30. The kids are about to have bath and bedtime, and I wanted to say I finished this. It took me a little over an hour, but I think I was basically speeding through it because it was less time than my Bookly app was originally saying. What happened? And I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. Both kids are back here. Maybe I will let them have the beanbag chair and just sort of sit down on the floor for now. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I do think this is a very solid YA thriller, mystery type of thing. I will say spoilers maybe, although I did know that this was a spoiler back because like when the TV show came out, people were like, this thing happened in the book, did it actually happen in the TV show? And I think the answer is yes, but the dog dies. So just be aware of that. But I do think it is a very good YA mystery thriller type of thing because we do have some thrilling parts in here, but no like actual murders are happening on page. I will say that I guessed the whodunit very early. Like I think I mentioned something within 100 pages or like when I talked to you guys first that I was pretty sure I had an idea, and my idea was one of the things that happened, one of the things that like was part of the climax and things like that. And I think I'm giving it a 4 star though because of the writing style a little bit. Like when I mentioned how some of it was first person going to third person, and like I understand why that was, but it wasn't as easy for me to consume. Like whenever we jumped to third person, I fell out of it a little bit. But otherwise, like that wasn't too bad. I did think the ending, while good, while I did guess, you know, most of what happened, like there were definite revelations that I guessed quite early on. I do think I wished the reveal of them was a little bit better. Like I guessed it. I did not think because I guessed it, it was a bad book, you know, like it wasn't like super obvious. They did have some really good red herrings and things like that. I was just hoping for a little bit more. But for a YA thriller, I do think it was fun. I might continue on in this series. There's 3 books, I'm pretty sure, but I know from a lot of people, book 2 seems to be really, really good. And book 3 is very much a letdown. One thing that I like is that this book right here, with the way that it ends, it doesn't need a sequel. I do feel like this could be a standalone. I'm curious for anybody that has continued in this series, is book 2 the same way? Is book 2 another sort of standalone mystery thriller type of thing where if it ends, it's not a cliffhanger where you have to read book 3? Because if it is more of a standalone type of thing, I would be willing to read that one as well in the future. But I've heard some not so great things about book 3 in this series, and so I want the ability to not read something and then be like, oh no, I have to read book 3 and maybe be let down. You know what I mean? Let me know. And then, since I finished that before dinner, but I didn't really have a chance to like sit down and talk to you guys because we were doing dinner and everything like that, I did actually start the Netflix show of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I watched episode 1 so far. This is like a mini series. It's only 6 episodes. I do think I'm going to continue so far. However, I will say, especially because I just read this one, I don't think the opening of the TV show is as good as the opening of the book. And I think part of it is that like the character, like I understand they're trying to introduce Pippa and in a way that like is maybe, I don't know, quirky. She is a little bit quirky and stuff in the book, but I feel like in the book she's doing this project for her capstone, and it's something that like she's always firmly believed that Sal is innocent, and so when they have to do something, she frames it as like media literacy because of, you know, this event, this murder that happened, and wanting to talk about like the media and how they handled stuff. But she's really going into it originally like with a very strong, this is how I'm doing things, very strong, very like academic sort of approach to it. And so like when she first starts off the book and like goes to see Ravi, she comes right out and is very like forward and knows what she wants and things like that. And so yeah, while she is a little bit quirky and makes some choices in the book that are like very teenage-ish and like, would we really want to do that when we're investigating a potential murderer, you know, that kind of thing. The TV show starts out more timid. Like she seems very nervous to go talk to people. It's very, you know, shot from her hip, that kind of thing. Like she's going out and like trying to interview Naomi, but like she's not like, here, let me do my thing and talk about this with my friends and like I know what I'm doing and I'm very convicted in this. It's more like, oh, I cornered this girl sort of on accident, and this is a girl that she knows. Like she didn't really corner her, but like she wasn't like doing it in the same way where she has this conviction about stuff. It was more just like, oh, I happened to be in the same room with her. Let me try and sit down and frame this in a like, oh, I didn't know you were going to be here. Like it was, I don't know, the characterization of that is off. There's obviously also some other scenes and things in episode 1 even that are just not in the book, like the Hastings wedding anniversary party where she's dressed up as a star. I feel like even if you haven't seen the show, people have seen pictures of her dressed as a star. And so while I've only seen episode 1 so far, I don't think the characterization quite matches up. We're also now in England versus this one is set in the United States somewhere. I don't actually know if they mention a state or anything, but they do mention how some of the characters in here are bound for Yale and things like that, whereas in the TV show, characters were going to be bound for Cambridge. So like they just changed the setting, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Oh, and then the one other thing that I wanted to mention about the show is episode 1 sort of starts off on a like one of the reveals from the book. Like we all know that the whole point of the book and the show and things like that is Pippa trying to find Andy's real killer because she is firmly of the belief that Sal is not the killer. But we don't know much of the circumstances in the book. We get those slowly throughout. Whereas the TV show, the very first scene before you even see Pip is Andy on the night of her disappearance. And I'm just like, are they really starting it out like that? Like maybe that was a directorial choice, but I do feel like the way that the book starts out, where Pip is very like methodical and taking her approach of like, this is the reason I am doing this project. This is what we know about it. I'm interviewing these people. Like it's a very like methodical, scientific, academic approach. And she feels very like confident in the way that she's going about it. She's a very like academic student. She gets like straight A's pretty much. And like, this is what she's doing. Whereas in the show, she seems like she's trying to do it more from an emotional point of view. Like they've given her some scenes. So, and again, I'm only 1 episode in, 45-ish minutes into this 6-episode miniseries. But they give her parts in this that are more like things that were not in the book, but like more emotionally attached to certain characters that she would not have necessarily known in the book. So I'm going to continue. I might watch like one more episode tonight before I go to bed. The kids are gonna go have a bath and stuff. But yeah, I finished my first book of 2025 in 2 days. It is literally January 2nd. So I'm very happy with that. That also proves why I got this so quickly from my library, putting it on hold. I did not expect to get it before I actually filmed this, which is why I got the ebook. And it's because people had it on hold and stuff, but the hold number, like my spot in the hold number, kept going up very quickly. And I think it's because everybody is reading this and getting done with it super quickly. Like, I'm gonna need to go take this back in case anybody else wants to put it on hold. But it's like very addicting that way. Still a 4-star just because I would have needed a little bit more, or things to happen a little bit differently, or writing style wise a little bit differently to actually give it a 5. But I only have 5 episodes left on the miniseries, so I think because I finished the book so quickly, I will watch more and let you guys know my full thoughts later. But so far, really enjoying this setup more than the TV show. Okay, so over the last couple days, I finished watching A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I'm gonna say, because I read the book, I didn't really like the adaptation. They changed too many things with the characters and motives and motivations of the characters, even if it wasn't like the crime motives, that I was just like, it didn't feel like it came together in the right way. Like, especially in the last episode when like things are supposed to be coming together, they put too much time between the two like major things that happen in the book, probably to make it seem more, I don't know, angsty or something like that, like, oh my gosh, what if sort of thing. But with the way that we see it in the book, the way that it comes together in the book, we get to experience everything along with Pip, and we get to see her find all the details and the bits and pieces. And so, like I said earlier when I was reading it, I guessed stuff early, but it was because we're solving it the same way as her. Like, it wasn't a bad book because I guessed things early. They did have red herrings and things like that, but like in the TV show, she didn't discover everything the same way as the book. I think everything just came together better in the book. So like, if I was going to be rating everything, obviously I rated the book 4 stars. If I was going to rate the TV show as if I was rating a book, maybe 3, because I think I was more mad at the TV show because I read the book very recently. Like, if I hadn't had read the book, I probably would have liked it a little bit better. But I kept questioning characters, and they changed characters too. So Pip's motivations and her, confidence and things like that, I had already mentioned, not the same. But also, like, Ravi felt very different character-wise. And then some of the characters that were friends with, like, Andy weren't in the book, and they were in the TV show. Like, again, they just changed things around too much. Some characters got way more screen time in the TV show than they would have in the book. And so it was just, like, a letdown after really thinking that the book was solid. Again, maybe it was just because I had just read the book, but I don't know if the adaptation worked as well. Like, they didn't give us enough of the details. Like, even at the very beginning when, like, we get into the story in the book, they give all the details of, like, Andy was seen at this time before she went missing, and here's the detail about her car and things like that. We didn't get, like, any of that in the TV show. So, like, you start that with less information. I will say the spoiler, dog death, happens in episode 5. It happens differently than in the book, and I think the book was less graphic. I mean, it wasn't very graphic either in the TV show, but people do like to know that kind of stuff, so keep that in mind. And then I am one of those people that likes to go onto IMDb and look up trivia for movies and TV shows and things that I watch, and there wasn't very much on the trivia page for A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Like, one of the trivias was, oh, it's based on a book series from Holly Jackson, but there was one on there that mentioned, and again, not trivia on like the Goodreads page, this is on IMDb, that it's set in England, which I mentioned before, and it's because that apparently is the original setting in the UK, and the publishers changed it for the US books, which now I'm just mad that they changed it for the US books. Like, I don't think it necessarily changed anything, but that was something that jarred me out of it when I was in the show. But when you think about it, it makes more sense the way that the characters' names are. I mean, who in America is calling their kid Pippa? Pretty much nobody. That is very UK. But also the small town nature of everything. It did make more sense that way in the show, or like in the setting of the UK. But I just thought that was interesting because that's not something that you see like on Goodreads, people talking about, oh yeah, by the way, the setting's different. I had no idea until I looked at the trivia. So I think that's going to be it. Again, this was our next plot twist, and I think if we're going based on the fact that I'm doing all of these cards, a 4-star solid read book is great. Again, I was not anticipating a young adult book in these cards, so we'll see if any more of those pop up, because when I was trying to see if I knew what this was going to be originally, I was not thinking YA at all. I wonder if you guys knew it or not. And so yeah, this will be the end of this vlog, and I will see you guys in my next one.